Hello, thanks for joining me on Al's Air Guns. Today we're going to take a look at reloading for the Gamo Viper Express. I acquired many boxes of shells when I purchased the gun, but since then I've shot up most of them, and currently they are not available from either supplier. They are back ordered, pre-order only. So I have an order in, but in the interim, I wanted to go ahead and look at reloading. Now, I've watched a lot of the stuff on YouTube and I've done a good bit of reading on the forums. I've also played with this a bit myself before, so I've come to have some concepts or ideas that I want to try out. And we're going to go ahead and do those now. And then very probably tomorrow, we'll take these out to the range and go ahead and compare them to the performance of the factory shell. So thanks a lot for tuning in, and let's go ahead and get started. Now, the factory Gamo shells are made with a plastic, it's actually an inverted cup that sits just inside the bottom of this shell. Then they have 20 pieces of number 9 lead shot set on top of it. And the top of the shell, well, right about here, is actually sealed by a piece of breakaway plastic. It's sealed in 3 places with like small spurs that come out, and when the gun discharges, it breaks the plastic, shoves the shot up, and of course pushes that plastic, for lack of a better term, wad through the shell. So when we're looking at them now, what we end up with is simply a plastic hollow tube. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a wad for the bottom. We will load the shell with the appropriate amount of lead shot. We're going to try a couple of different sizes today, actually, but most of the experimenting we do will be done with 7.5 shot, just because it's so very available. It's very inexpensive to buy a box of 12 gauge bird loads. These are an example here, 7.5 shot. Open them up and you've got a ready supply of shot. A little tip there, you don't have to cut the plastic on most of these shells. The gunpowder and everything's down here. Obviously, there's the primer. If you struck it, it could discharge. But most modern shells are crimped in a way that you can just take a knife or any kind of pointy tool and unfold the crimp. This part is just part of the shell that's been twisted and shoved down in there to hold it tight. So anyway, these can be a ready supply of shot in a number of sizes. Today, I think we're going to have 7.5 and some number 6, but we're going to start with the 7.5. One of the things I've gathered from folks that reload these a lot is it's important to have some resistance when the discharge occurs. So I've tried a number of things for this wad on the back end of the cartridge, and I have a couple ideas that I'll go ahead and share with you here. But what many of the people feel is that if that lets go too easily, you won't get good performance. Obviously, in the factory shell, there's both the weight of the charge, there's this plastic sealing wad in the back, and the breakaway piece there. The weight of the shot is 17 grains. So we already know that. We don't know the resistance required to break away the plastic or push the cup through there, but we can make some assumptions. Now, the first group of these that I made, I was keeping the weights light and using a low resistance wad, and I was getting a lot of detonations in the spring gun. Detonations, obviously, when you break the gun in half and you see smoke pouring out of the cylinder in little wisps, we've had a detonation, and that's something we're not looking for. Detonations can happen due to a lack of resistance. They will happen with some spring guns when you fire them without anything in it, without a pellet in it. But I got the feeling that either my charges were the combination of the weight of my charge and the wadding that I was using was too light. There wasn't enough resistance against the spring power plant. So I've tried a couple of things to mitigate that, and we'll go ahead and get into those now. Many of the other people I've seen on YouTube or the blogs recommend taking a 1/4 inch or 5/16 inch hole punch and punching out light cardboard or styrofoam from egg cartons. Any one of those I'm sure would work pretty well. I don't have one of those handy, but something I did have around and I've used before that works pretty well for me is cutting in half a 22 caliber cleaning pellet. Oops, that one got away from me. Let's try that again. But if we cut it in half like this, we can end up with 2 wads out of each one, and they're pretty good size. A lot of your quality shotgun ammo does use some kind of cushioning wad in the back so that the shot doesn't deform. I don't know that we need it here, but let's assume it may provide some benefit. I managed to find a piece of .177 caliber plastic that came off the end of a dart for a .177 caliber air gun, and I used this to go ahead and push my wadding, whatever I'm using, into the shell from one end or the other. Now we'll go ahead and, since we have the 22 caliber wad right there, go ahead and seat it with this. Next, we'll measure out our shot. I started by loading each shell with a load of 20 pieces of the number 7.5 lead shot. The resulting shells with that and a felt wad from the cleaning pellet at both ends, these were weighing in right at 1.8 grams, which turns into a figure of something, well, actually right on 27.78 grains. Now, the original shells that we get from Gamo with the plastic cup, and let me see if I can get a better shot of that for you. If not, I'll use another camera and we'll get closer. But this one from the factory with their cup, with this breakaway card or whatever of plastic in the front, and the 20 pieces of number 9 shot weighs 1.2 grams. So that converts to 18.52 grains. So we're either 0.6 or 9.26 grains. We're either 0.6 grams or 9.26 grains heavier. However, we are just using the felt wad, which has a great deal less resistance, I suspect. After loading up a bunch of those, I've gone ahead and we'll start loading a second group, and this first group I went ahead and put into a box here, and that was number 8, and then we marked them so that we can track these once we get out to the range and see how they do as compared to the other ones. The next group we're going to go ahead and make is the ones with the well, I think we're going to try 15 pellets from that same size shot and see how we do. So let's go ahead and find one of these wads, show you real quickly how we do it. Simply look for the angle to press that in. Once we get it lined up, then we can just because the factory shells have that shot cup that's recessed a bit, I go ahead and kind of push that in a little bit to mimic that, at least for now, and we're going to try something else, but that's what we're doing here. Then we're just going to go ahead, count out 20 pieces of shot, drop them in there, put another piece on top, ram it down tight, make sure we're still lined up, and we'll go ahead and sort those to take to the range with us. That's pretty much going to wrap up the first part of this. We'll go ahead and tape some more once we get them out of the range, and I will probably go ahead and post this. Hope we'll see you on the next one, and thanks for joining us at Al's Air Guns. Hope you're subscribed. If you're not, we'd love to have you, and if you were kind enough to give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a comment, that'd be really great as well. Thanks a lot. Bye.